Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Administrator Criswell, I understand that it is GSA's intention to modernize the federal building at 7th and D Streets Northwest here in the District of Columbia, known as the Regional Office Building to house FEMA's headquarters. How did FEMA and GSA determine that the renovation of the Regional Office Building to house FEMA's headquarters is the most effective option?
Congresswoman Norton, as you know, our lease is coming up in 2027, and we have been working closely with the department as well as GSA to identify the most suitable building for us to move into. I believe that the building at 7 and D is going to make the most cost-effective use of federal funding by using an existing federal facility. It also provides improved security features to support our staff and our interagency that come together when we activate our National Response Coordination Center. It's also co-located with one of our DHS partners, and so we'll continue to work with the department and GSA as they move forward with this move.
What is the timeline for completion of each phase of the regional office building construction, and when do you expect to request funding for phase 2?
I don't have the specifics on the timeline or additional funding. I know we've already been appropriated funding for this move, but we'll be happy to get back with you with those details.
I'd appreciate that. Administrator Criswell, please provide to the committee in writing within 7 days of today's hearing the cost-benefit analysis conducted of FEMA continuing operations in its existing headquarters location under its current lease through purchase of the leased building and for the renovation of the regional office building, if you will.
Yes, ma'am, we'll be happy to provide that for the record.
Thank you. Mr. Curry, climate change has fueled an alarming rise in natural disasters, with once-in-a-century storms becoming a matter of course. It is critical to invest our emergency management workforce to invest in that workforce, to respond to these continuing emergencies and to help rebuild affected communities. Yet the Government Accounting Office found that in recent years, FEMA is significantly understaffed, falling 6,200 employees short of staffing goals in 2022. Director Curry, what are your recommendations for improving the hiring and retention of FEMA staff?
Thank you, ma'am. This has been a historical problem. Over a decade, we've been looking at this, and it's been the case over and over again.
Why is that a problem?
Attrition, it's tough at FEMA because a lot of these are part-time positions. A lot of these are intermittent positions, so you can only recruit certain types of people that are willing to fill those. Also, FEMA's told us that there's been definitely been a burnout factor in recent years because of COVID-19 and the nonstop disaster season. You know, it used to be that someone would deploy for a number of months, take a break, and maybe deploy months later. With back-to-back disasters, a lot of times they're asked to deploy sequentially, especially people that have specialized skills, and they don't have a lot of them. I think a number of things need to happen. One, some steps have been taken through the CREW Act to give FEMA reservists and employees similar protections to like the military reserve would have, where their jobs are secure. I think those things need to go further. I think there needs to be, almost like the National Guard, the military reserve, there needs to be a training component of that when they're not deployed to disasters, a development component of that, a hierarchy structure, a transition structure into full-time positions. So there's more of a pipeline starting early all the way through to the end of a career, to where you're not just able to recruit people, frankly, that don't have full-time jobs or have other part-time jobs.
Well, what's Administrator Criswell, in the past year, this year, since the release of the GAO report, what steps has FEMA taken to improve staff hiring and retention?
Ma'am, I really appreciate that question because I just had the opportunity to visit our Center for Domestic Preparedness yesterday. And what I saw there was I had the opportunity to swear in 78 of our new reservists. They come in every 2 weeks to go through training. And I asked them, how many of them have benefited from some of the new programs that we have put in place, to include the CREW Act, which we really appreciate Congress's passing of that legislation, as well as some of the incentives for bonuses. And more than half of the individuals in that room have benefited from those programs. Every 2 weeks, we're continuing to see this. And so those types of legislation and new program changes that we have made will increase the most important part of our workforce, which is our reservist workforce. They are the ones that go out to each of these disasters to support them. We'll continue to look for additional ways that we can enhance that level of recruitment as well as retention.
Thank you. I yield back.